This is your battle staff area. Well, you can see right here is cut. It's there, it's there, it's there. It's everywhere.
Mark Hamilton has been restoring aircraft at the Strategic Air and Space Museum in Ashland for more than 2 decades. The B-29 Superfortress, the C-47 Skytrain, and now this one, the EC-135 Looking Glass.
Some stuff is so deteriorated that you have to paint it. There's mold. This stuff's gonna have to come out. This piece, there's a nut plate that fits up here where that screw went. That piece is all corroded off.
This is the largest and perhaps the most important restoration project to date for the museum. Expected to cost at least $200,000, fundraising efforts have garnered about half that much so far.
Just think of the copper that's up there. We're going to take all that copper out.
And sell it.
Leading the effort to restore this aircraft are 2 men who spent years working aboard the plane.
This was the heart of the operation. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, week after week, month after month, year after year. I mean, this was the heartbeat.
This part of the airplane is referred to as the battle staff area. And this would be the chair right here that the general sat in, this chair right here.
Retired 4-star General John Chain is the former commander of the Strategic Air Command at Offutt Air Force Base in Bellevue. He and former Emergency Action Team Officer Al Buckles want others to know the role this plane played in helping the U.S. win a war it never had to fight.
It was airborne 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for many, many years. And if we were ever, as a country, under attack, particularly with nuclear weapons, we had a command post that could operate and be able to control and make sure that the missiles that we had, when the President of the United States made the decision, we would be able to launch them.
For nearly 3 decades, beginning in 1961, at the height of U.S. and Soviet Cold War tensions, Strategic Air Command operated airborne command posts, codenamed Looking Glass, for its ability to mirror the nuclear command and control functions underground at Offutt.
They never come to the general to say, may I go do this? They just knew their job had to be done this, and they did that, okay?
General Chain never got the call to launch from the president, but it was a responsibility he was ready to execute at any time.
We were so strong and so well prepared, they have to know that we would retaliate. And it would be a terrible retaliation. I mean, we would eliminate them, basically.
There were a number of Looking Glass aircraft built, but this will be the only one on display in the world. The general was at the helm for the final mission.
The biggest memory is the quality of the crews flying the airplane and the battle staff. They were a band of brothers and sisters. They knew what they were doing and the importance of the mission, and they did it extremely well.
It was once a state-of-the-art aircraft, walls lined with the latest in electronic equipment, high-tech wiring and control panels, and manned by a highly trained elite crew. In 1990, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, the continuous airborne mission ended, and the Looking Glass was put on ground alert status. It was the end of an era, as newer technologies and efficiencies replaced this relic of the Cold War. For many, the Looking Glass is an icon of peace, but the aircraft's current state belies its historical significance. Now, much of the plane has been tagged and stripped. Bare walls expose rotted insulation and corroded panels. Every instrument, from cockpit to tail, is being restored and reinstalled. After deteriorating outside for nearly 2 decades, this EC-135 jet, also known as the Doomsday Plane, is inside a hangar at the museum, wings clipped, and more than halfway through a 5-year restoration project.
I knew this one was going to be a lot of work. The aircraft had never been sealed. It had a lot of openings in it. When it sat out there, the right side of the aircraft was facing on the west side of it. So all the snow and came and it formed them barnacles. And so I was out there killing wasps and plugging holes. And there was damage on this panel. So I had them remove this panel, and then we found bird nest. And that was the same underneath, but it was like a bale of hay coming out.
For the past couple of years, Hamilton has been working with a rotating crew of volunteers to bring this iconic warhorse back to its appearance during the height of the Cold War.
Good? All right.
A number of the volunteers have a personal stake in the restoration.
I was flying the Looking Glass from 1978 to 1982. I was a communications officer and airborne launch control systems officer. I knew what it was when it first came out here, and then I saw the deterioration, and it made me feel upset. I pulled my old chair out and put it in storage, and I pulled my console out, and it's in storage, and I cleaned that down to the metal. So I'm looking forward to the time when we start putting the components back in.
Volunteer Steve Stevens piloted the Looking Glass and flew 18 missions on this very plane.
You look at the airplane and you say, you know, I flew that beauty. You live in the past, I guess is the best way to call it. And I thought it was a good project. I needed, you know, I'm retired, I had plenty of time, so it's a lot of memories.
With a target completion date of 2020, the goal is to create a walkable museum display inside the aircraft.
Looking back, I had a strong sense of pride of being part of the Strategic Air Command and knowing what we were doing and knowing that what it meant to the country. It made a lot of the hardships bearable. I certainly want people to understand what we did. It'll be there for history for my kids, grandkids, to see what Strategic Air Command was. A lot of people nowadays don't really remember that.
We told the world, mainly the Soviet Union, that we would keep it up there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for years. And we always had the capability of taking over command of the nuclear forces. People can look at it and say, that won the Cold War. It didn't go to the boneyard and get chopped up and melted. It's history, you know. It won the Cold War.